Yo, what's up? You click on this video to know more about Arca, and let's not waste more time. Let's get right into it. Typically, when it comes to making experimental music like Arca, the most common issue you might find is having a song being too overcomplicated or just too bloated, too much going on for anyone to listen to, let alone yourself. The easiest way to cut this out and to add clarity to your experimental music is by having anchor points in your music. What is an anchor? An anchor in music would be an element in a song that stays the same for an extended amount of time. This could be anything, but most commonly it's a snare or a hi-hat or really just any drums. You see this also in Flume's music. His drums might sound strange, but they are actually quite standard in when they hit. And that's why everything else around it can just go crazy. So that's important. Having anchors in your music is very important. Here are a few examples in Arca that she uses anchors as well. We got Not. In this song, the hi-hat and snare, the two main elements of the song that don't really switch up. You can hear it here. In Sad Bitch is the next example that I want to bring up. In this song, Arca uses the chord at the start of every bar as an anchor in this song. This is why the other synth lead can just go crazy. You don't really feel lost in this song. And Umbilical, in the second half of the track, the vocal gets played every few bars that I think the beautiful thing about her music as well is that she actually switches up anchors. I think that's a very good technique for you to pick up. The next thing we'll talk about is just being very experimental with your song structure. In experimental music, there are three main different types of song structures. They are familiar structure, unusual sounds, unusual structure, and familiar sounds. And the last is unusual structure and unusual sounds. Arca has kind of done it all. For familiar structure and unusual sounds, we can take FKA Twigs' Lights On in the LP1 album produced by Arca. The song is pop structure with wacky ass sounds. The most common format in popular music is intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then it just repeats itself. Minus the intro. As you can see here in Lights On, it follows exactly that pop structure. The next example is the unusual structure and familiar sounds. For this one, I can pick Bullet Chained as an example. Why? Because the rising saw wave is something you kind of hear in a lot of EDM music and EDM sets, but it's being used here in this weird industrial IDM beat. And this is pretty useful because then it brings familiarity into your music, and that's actually what creativity is. The last thing I want to talk about is unusual structure and unusual sounds. One example is Mutant. Do I really need to say why? And the next one is actually Sad Bitch, which is what I previously said. And Sad Bitch to me sounds like just one long ass build. The one thing I like about this song is that it sounds like just one preset being played in many different octaves. Also that same preset as being played with long notes that has legato and pitch bends on it. The entire song is essentially just one preset played many different ways. The last thing I want to talk about is actually having sound designing sessions. I believe this is extremely important for an artist that wants to make otherworldly sounds. Creativity is made up of two primary brain functions, divergent and convergent thinking. And times like this where you just have no limits, this is a massive contributor to divergent thinking. I found a few sound designing techniques that I believe Arca uses in her music. And Mutant is a really good example for why granular synthesis is extremely important in the music. The song sounds as if you put an entire song or idea into a granular synthesizer. When you put an entire song into a granulator, it's so layered because there's synths, bass, and drums that's already in that sound. And then if you throw in effects like saturation, distortion, you get pretty close. Something kind of sounds like this. After trying to make that sound using Granulator 2, I realized there's a much easier way, which is just using texture mode in Ableton, like in the Ableton audio file. You take the original sound, you warp it, and stretch it all the way to the end. What you do then is you change this mode into texture mode, and you play around with this grain side. If you go back up to 100 something, for example, Pairing up with another sound designing technique called gate, it's kind of similar to muted. Some saturation and the texture mode. And this is what I ended up achieving after using gate. I think that's pretty close. The only thing that's missing is the tail end in the song. Special thanks to MF Jim for this video. He commented Arca many times previously. Make sure you comment on an artist you want me to break down next. That's it for me today. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.